Hey guys, Aaron CybertronVGC here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the Online Series 8 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, I got my butt kicked by this really cool team featuring physical Regieleki, and I just could not for my life figure out what the Regieleki set was, and despite seeing bounce, for some reason I still couldn't process that it was a physical set. So as a lot of you correctly pointed out in the comment section below, it was a physical Dynamax Regieleki. So it turns out that the creator of this team is actually the creator of the Zekrom Comfey team we just used, and they've actually created a rental team for this specific team. So I said, there's no way we can't feature this team on the channel, especially given how we just got rocked by it yesterday. So happy to say that we're going to be using it in today's episode. Thank you once again to the original creator for the team. I've linked their Twitter down in the description below, and it's a rental, so feel free to try it out yourselves. They really just coming up with some straight fire, so huge props to them. As you can see, it's a very hyper-offensive team, and there's a lot of tricks up its sleeve, right? Choice Band on Urshifu, Choice Specs on the Calyrex, White Herb on the Cinderace, and then the Life Orb, obviously Regieleki. I think Regieleki is often going to be the star of this team, especially because a lot of people just don't expect, Life Orb physical. I certainly didn't when I went up against it yesterday, and even now I'm still kind of shocked by it. So I think that alone is really interesting, but there's a lot of good synergy here, right? Whimsicott just sets up the Tailwind. That really allows you to just basically outspeed everything in the format. This Regieleki does so much damage, especially when you add Helping Hand support on top, and can also, interestingly enough, actually have a good diverse set of attacks, right? With the special Regielekis, you're only going for special electric type attacks. But with physical Regieleki, you actually get access to extreme speed, bounce, and assurance, and all of those turn into pretty powerful max moves. Assurance, in particular, turns into max darkness. That max darkness will be really valuable for late game when Calyrex just comes out and just spams Astral Barrage or Expanding Force. So I think if you're playing with this team, typically games will end pretty quickly, probably between 5 to 10 minutes, because it's so hyper offensive. You're really designed to just sweep through your opponent as quickly as possible. There's not a single protect on any Pokemon here, so you basically are trying to push the tempo as much as possible, force your opponent to respond to you. So yeah, I had to try out this team, especially after facing against it yesterday, but we'll be back with some more Kyurem White games as well. So I think in the next couple days I'm going to use this team, swap back to the Kyurem White team for an episode, and then back to the Eleki team. Or maybe we'll just do two episodes with this team and then go back to that Kyurem White team, because that Kyurem White team was honestly really awesome as well. I had a blast playing with it yesterday. So yeah, it's a brand new ranked season, so played a couple games just to get into the hang of things with this team. I think, the main thing is basically you need to outspeed your opponent. In one of the practice games I just played, my opponent ended up going for a scary face onto Regieleki, and then they had a max Evoltol at +1 speed, and they just max darkness Regieleki Dynamax for a one-hit KO. So that really felt bad. So we ideally basically want to make sure that we're always outspeeding our opponent. If your opponent is attacking before you, that's typically a bad sign when you're using this team, because this team has so many frail members, right? There's very little bulk combined between everything, and if you ask me what the frailest Pokemon in Series 8 were, Regieleki, Whimsicott, Urshifu, definitely are up that list. Calyrex Shadow Rider also, very weak to Dark type and Ghost type attacks, so you want to protect it properly. So let's get into today's episode. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like. And question of the day, inspired by this Regieleki set, I want to know what the craziest set you faced in Series 8 is. My answer, honestly, is this Regieleki. It is just so wild. So let's see. This is cool, because we actually have Max Darkness on Regieleki, and their primary max option is going to be that Calyrex. So I think Physical Eleki here can be phenomenal. Ideally, I set up Tailwind. Indeedee is interesting here just for redirection support. And it sets up terrain, so you can't do any shenanigans on turn 1 against me. And I have Helping Hand. That doesn't seem like a bad option, to be honest. Are we modest on this thing? Okay, we are timid. Honestly, this Calyrex is a really good late game sweeper as well. I think I'm down for Whimsicott, Eleki, Calyrex, and I think Indeedee is kind of cool here, because the way we can approach this game is try to use Regieleki in the early game to do a lot of work, and then in the late game, use Indeedee plus Calyrex. And then the Indeedee basically fully supports Calyrex, because my opponent doesn't have great answers to my Calyrex, especially if I get a Tailwind off with that Whimsicott. So yeah, let's try this out. I honestly think Physical Eleki can be really good here, especially because we actually have that Assurance, aka Max Darkness, into their Calyrex Shadow Rider. So that would be really sick to get off here. But yeah, I also really wanted to use this team for the thumbnail and the title for today's episode. I just thought it was perfect for the scenario. So yeah, Let's get into the first game today. I still can't believe, yeah, thought it was physical luck yesterday. I mean, I was so shocked when we went up against it. Okay, it's Meowstic plus Blastoise. Gosh, my only fear here is that it's Trick Room on Meowstic. I think I want to just go for a Helping Hand Max Lightning onto Meowstic turn 1. Because I really am afraid of Trick Room. Both of these Pokemon can Fake Out right now. Sash is another concern, but yeah, I'm going to go for the Helping Hand Max Lightning. That sets up the Electric Terrain, which means Aleki's putting in even more work in subsequent turns. I guess we could have gone for Max Darkness immediately, actually. I mean, I think Regieleki definitely a very strong threat right now. The main thing to watch out for when you're using Regieleki is just that it's really frail. Even when you Dynamax it, it can actually get one-shot by a fair amount of attacks in the format. And Meowstic does get access to Trick Room, I believe, so I really... Like, you can't let Trick Room go up with this team, against this team. If Trick Room goes up, you will win the game against this team pretty much all the time, I would think, barring, like, any really obscure scenarios, especially in the early game. Maybe in the late game, if it's, I don't know, like a 2v1 scenario, doesn't matter as much. Okay, we don't see Blastoise Max, that's always a good sign. Get the Helping Hand off. They end up going for Fake Out, okay. Although that was Meowstic going for Fake Out, so if we targeted Blastoise there, it probably felt like game over, honestly, on turn 1. But worst case here, Blastoise maybe goes for a Shell Smash, but the reality is then I can just Tailwind Max Lightning it next turn. So I'm actually not even that worried about that option. Let's see. Yep, it's gonna Shell Smash. But that's fine, right? What's your answer against Regieleki right now? I'm not sure there is one. Yeah, so we can just Tailwind to ensure that our Regieleki continues to outspeed in the subsequent turn. I don't even know if Blastoise at +2 outspeeds Regieleki, to be honest. You could bring a Fake Out user like Rillaboom out right now. So I could have Max Lightning Blastoise, but I don't mind targeting the Meowstic in that position, because Blastoise is so threatened there. And I think we're still in a decent spot going into the remainder of this game. Especially with Electric Terrain being up. So they're just going to bring out Calyrex. Okay, that's fine with me. I mean, the only thing here is, like, do I want to consider going for a Max Darkness onto the Calyrex instead, expecting Blastoise to protect in this position? The thing is, I don't know if you one-shot me anyway. So I feel like it's fine to just Max Lightning into the Blastoise instead of Tailwind here. And once we set up Tailwind, the Calyrex in our back can just go for Astral Barrage, right? Which is really good. So the speed control is really valuable. Either way, that was definitely a good turn here. I mean, I think on paper, the Dynamax Regieleki honestly looks really, really good. Okay, and they max Blastoise. Yeah, I'm happy to see that, honestly. So the only question is whether or not they max guard, and if they don't max guard, can your Calyrex actually one-shot my Regieleki here? Because I would think Electric Terrain boosted Max Lightning KOs the Blastoise. Okay, so they do go for max guard. That's fine. Like, I really wanted a Max Darkness there, but I didn't think their Calyrex could actually KO us here, so let's see. If they do KO, that's actually kind of a problem, I think. And you just go for Astral Barrage. Okay, nice. We hang on with both. Huge. I think that will probably allow us... I mean, Max Darkness there would have definitely just won the game, especially because they're not even... Wait. Oh, interesting. I didn't even realize they're not White Herb. Huh. It begs the question whether or not I actually want to risk Max Darkness into Calyrex here, because I think Blastoise probably just goes for a double Max Guard. It's actually not a bad option. I would go for the double for my opponent's side here. I don't know if I need to make this play. But I'm actually going to go for it, yeah. Let's see if they go for the double. Yep, they try to go for it. I don't know, I think in this position it's like... Because I felt really confident in the fact that they would try to go for a double there. So we end up... The thing is, if they get that, Astral Barrage actually picks up a double KO, and I don't really like that, right? So, sure, now they still have Blastoise out, but you're at -2 special defense, and I have Tailwind, so I'm going to outspeed you. And they've already spent 2 turns of their Dynamax just trying to... Yeah, Moonblast is going to do a sizable amount there as well. They spent 2 turns of their Dynamax just trying to protect, right? So, it always feels a little bit risky to try to read into a double protect there, but I felt like in this scenario it felt very realistic. So they bring out the Rillaboom, but this is the beauty of us having Indeedee in the back. We can just switch it into Indeedee, change the terrain, and then just go for... What do we want to go for here? Oh, I suppose they could... Oh, no. I was going to say you could fake out, but I don't think that KOs... It doesn't go off, never mind. So this is -2 special defense. I think it's fine to just go for a wild charge here into the Blastoise. I don't think that KOs, but we don't need a KO right now. Because Calyrex Shadow Rider should close out this game with Tailwind up. So the thing is, in that last turn, I could have gone for Max Lightning. If you don't get the double protect off, I think that should just also be game over instantly. But 1/3 of the time, they get that double protect off. And in that scenario, we lose both of our Pokemon, and the end game looks a little bit muddier then afterwards. So... yeah, I didn't really think my opponent's Blastoise would try to set up in front of us the way it did, but I'll take it. Works out well for us. Okay, so they go for another Protect there. They did try to fake out though, right? So with the terrain, it doesn't end up actually even doing anything. So in the end, our opponent ended up maxing Blastoise just to actually not get a single attack off with it after Shell Smash. It's 4 turns that Blastoise is on the field and 0 turns of damage from it. So now we can just confidently go for Wild Charge here, go for a Follow Me here with the Indeedee. And I don't even think this Blastoise is actually going to have Protect. I think like it maxed just to try to get that Protect off. But that's why I wanted to max Lightning turn 1 into the Indeedee right away. I was thinking my opponent could have brought out Rillaboom instead. Because if you bring out Rillaboom, you can at least fake out rather than the... what did they even bring out? Wait, did they... I'm just trying to think. Hold on. Right, they brought out the Calyrex, but... I mean, I guess it makes sense. You just want to do as much damage off as possible. Focus Sash Rillaboom, that's interesting. Mentor, Thunder Wave, Helping Hand, Fake Tears. You know what could have been scary? Fake Tears, like max turn 1. Yes, they didn't have Protect. Fake Tears plus max... G-Max Cannonade into Alecki, but that's so risky. Choice Specs Alecki, but Screech and Protect. Huh, interesting. And then Lagging Tail Grimmsnarl. Okay, well, that was definitely a good debut, I would say, for the, definitely a good debut. Hold on. Definitely a good debut for the physical Regieleki. You know, we take those. Regieleki was great in that one. Alright, getting into our next game here. This definitely looks like a good Alecki game. I feel like it's definitely Whimsicott Alecki lead. Palkia is actually a little bit scary though, I suppose. But they don't have a single Ghost Resist, so I'm thinking we just go Whimsicott Alecki and then Indeedee Calyrex in the back. I feel like that's by far the best mode here. So what's interesting is that, like, they have Tailwind. I guess I have to worry about Trick Room from Comfey. Focus Sash Comfey here, setting up Trick Room could be a disaster for us. Also, Palkia gets access to Trick Room. It's not going to... I don't think most Palkia sets are running it these days. You really want Spatial Rend, Earth Power, Hydro Pump, Protect. But you theoretically could fit Trick Room onto it. So let's see. Hoping we can just Dynamax Alecki and put in some work. They're going to go with Whimsicott and Lele, which is fine by me. Especially because we're physical here. So I don't mind this one bit. Unless it actually ends up being Focus Sash on the Whimsicott. This is the other really cool thing about this Alecki. Even Scarf users aren't going to outspeed you most of the time. So I think we can just Tailwind turn 1, Dynamax, and Lightning into Lele. And let's just get a KO onto that. Curious what Lele is going to want to do here on turn 1. We can just go for Psychic type attacks, obviously. If we just one-shot Lele, that's a great start to the game. And then we can either Moonblast... I think Tailwinding turn 1 here is still fine. Like I said, my only fear here is if their Whimsicott actually has Trick Room. To cover for that, I guess I could have gone for Moonblast plus Airstream onto the Whimsicott. Alright, they just Tailwind. Yeah, that's fine. Trading Tailwinds is totally acceptable in this one because we're so fast. Nice. Alright, physical Regieleki gets that Life Orb Max Lightning off, and that's a one-hit KO. Beautiful. It's wild because, like, this is the first time I've really seen physical Regieleki in general, and it actually is just, like, the #1 Dynamax option with this team. It's just so strong. So that's good. We pick up a quick lead. We still have Inity for redirection support later on in the game, and then we can support that with Calyrex, obviously. And we're just going to bring out Palkia. Okay. I mean, honestly, with Palkia here, like, I think we can just go Helping Hand Max Lightning into Palkia. We've got the Electric Train up now. Yeah, I'm not scared of Whimsicott. Let's just go for it. Why not? Okay, so they're going to max. I would think Helping Hand Max Lightning in terrain with Life Orb actually picks up the one-hit KO. So let's find out. I had to use this team after yesterday because I was just so bewildered. I was just so bewildered. Okay, so they max Palkia. I mean, that's fine. That should mean no Trick Room then. We trade Helping Hands, but this is definitely worth it for us, because I don't even know if their Palkia survives the turn. Even if it does, it's not even that bad. Bro, this thing is ridiculous. Oh, well, you know, now my opponents are all feeling the pain I experienced yesterday. Because it literally shook me so hard. I even saw a bounce, and I still couldn't figure out what the set was. Oh... I did have a practice game earlier, though, and I figured out Helping Hand Max Lightning did 90% to a Porygon, too. So don't always think that's just going to pick up a KO, because it's not always going to. Anyway, Kingdra's the last one, but I mean, I just can't see my opponent coming back into this. Like, let's just Moonblast Airstream into Whimsicott. Like, we haven't even taken any damage yet. There's really no option here. Okay, they do go for Helping Hand, but Calyrex and Indy in the back. I mean, Kingdra, not Dynamax, not going to be able to do too much. It's kind of interesting to actually see Kingdra and the Palkia on the same team as well. Because they have the exact same typing, and typically you don't really want that. Also not Sash Whimsicott, which is also interesting. But we get the KO there. And I don't think Moonblast one-shots here. My guess is 70 to 80% of damage, but let's see. A little bit more. That was like more like 90. Flash Cannon. Oh, that's interesting. Well, that definitely helps against fairy types. I mean, typically with Kingdra, you're going to see Draco Meteor, Hurricane, Muddy Water, Scald. I don't think Scald is really that common at all in this format. It's also Life Orb, so that's interesting. But I think these games back-to-back should demonstrate how good Regieleki can be when Dynamaxed, right? So it's exactly what we wanted. So just go for a Moonblast. We'd like to see the Extreme Speed animation from Regieleki. Let's go for that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, with this team, you're either going to win games in 3 turns or often lose games in 3 turns. Like, you'll know how the game is often going to play out after turn 2, I think. Just because you either gain such a monumentous lead that it's basically impossible for your opponent to come back from, or you fall behind so quickly, i.e., you know, you lose your Regieleki to one big max move, or your opponent gets up Trick Room, for example. Those are a couple of things that I ran into while playing some games. And so I think you basically have to play towards the team's win conditions, absolutely protect the main max option, especially if it's that Regieleki, and basically do your best to sweep with it afterwards. Once again, it's so important that you move before your opponent with this team, because if your opponent's moving first, that you're probably going to lose the game. That either means that they somehow got better speed control than you, i.e. knocking out Whimsicott and then setting up their own Tailwind, or setting up Trick Room. Those 2 things you really don't want to happen, and then you also have to be careful about any potential max move that can just one-shot that Dynamax Regieleki. But yeah, just some lessons that I've learned in my time playing with it, and let's jump into the next game here. Okay, 3rd game here. Didn't we lose against this a while back? I don't remember if, or we barely won. It's that strategy where you, with the Symbiosis on the Oranguru, and you get the Choice Band onto the Calyrex Ice Rider, right? Now, Regieleki, a little bit weaker here, because they have that Landorus. How do I deny Trick Room, though? I feel like because my opponent is Oranguru, this is an auto loss. Because I can't Astral Barrage or Expanding Force it. You could lead Clef Oranguru and have Calyrex Torkoal in the back. Yeah, if my opponent places correctly, actually there's no way I win. There's just no way. Because Trick Room is like an auto loss here. Okay, so, however, our opponent still needs to identify that they need to lead Indeedee plus Clef plus Oranguru. Okay, you know what? It's not necessarily an auto loss, because we can taunt Clef turn 1, and then that forces them to switch out turn 2. So, Whimsicott, Cinderace, Indeedee. I don't know about my Pokemon choice here. It's just like, it's such a tough matchup to begin with, but I don't know if I brought the right things here. I didn't bring the Regieleki mainly because my opponent has that Landorus T, and they have the I mean, they have a bunch of Pokemon that are better on the defensive spectrum than the special defense spectrum. So yeah, see if we can claw ourselves out of this one because I don't think it's an easy matchup. Yeah, and they correctly identify their lead. Okay, well done. With that, it's gonna be really tough. But we're gonna try. We're gonna try. I'm gonna taunt turn 1 into Clef, and I'm going to intentionally not go for the knockout onto Clef. Should survive an Iron Head here. So let's do as much damage off onto it as possible, but intentionally not KO it, so then it's forced to switch out next turn. Or, the thing is, my opponent could just stay in, and that's the tricky thing. So, after I get the taunt onto Clef, I have to identify what it's going to do on turn 2. This is a perfect example, though, of how in a tricky matchup, you have to make the right calls, and your opponent just has to basically play... Huh. Okay. We take those? Yeah, we absolutely take those. I mean, they don't get Trick Room up this way. I'm so shocked, to be honest. But this is what I mean. Even if the matchup is abysmal, your opponent still actually has to play it correctly. Okay, this actually gives us a very big window of opportunity now. Let's see. I have to respect Hailstorm onto Whimsicott here, right? Clef can't go for a follow me, it's taunted. Hailstorm coming out. I think we go out into the Indeedee here. Dynamax? I want to Knuckle so badly. Okay, this is actually a winnable game now after turn 1. Although I think my lead was the best option here anyway, to begin with. Why didn't I bring Calyrex? Wait, I didn't even bring my restricted mon into this. Am I dumb? Maybe a little bit. Okay. Yeah, let's go out into Indeedee, Dynamax this thing, and... I'm a Steel Spike for a defense boost. Why did I not bring Calyrex here, though? I guess I really wanted Urshifu for Landorus, but Calyrex over Urshifu is definitely a better bring, but this was me just kind of running low on timer and not being 100% sure what to bring, but should always bring a restricted mon. That should be first priority. Okay, so they switch out into Oranguru. Yeah, this is the thing. You might not get Trick Room up now. I wanted to Knuckle really badly there, but there is a small chance Clef just stays in for that Friend Guard support. Okay, also I could have just gone for Helping Hand Pyro Ball onto the Calyrex Ice. Man, I actually really like that play. It's fine, it's fine. It's just, because I didn't bring... They're going to max Calyrex, right? Yeah. I mean, this is still okay, all things considered. I'm actually really shocked they didn't just go follow me Trick Room turn 1. Also, I actually totally didn't even mention the option of Calyrex Ice Trick Rooming this last turn. I didn't think that would be a possibility, though. But if it came out here, we actually would have just lost. So I didn't cover for that option well. Could have also just stayed in with Whimsicott to get that Helping Hand off. That's really good damage from Steel Spike. I mean, another one will KO. Oh, they go for Hailstorm. How much do you do to our Indeedee here? 75. We're 175 down to what, 75? So was it exactly 100 or was it 78? I couldn't tell. Oh, I forgot about them not her Citrus Berry not activating. It's kind of a pain. I have Helping Hand, Mystical Fire, Expanding Force. Steel Spike's just gonna KO here. Kind of like Helping Hand max Knuckle. But maybe Steel Spike allows me to survive. That would be really critical. I also don't know if Helping Hand G-Max Power Ball one-shots this thing. Kind of feel like it does. I went for the Knuckle play. I don't think that's the best play here. I think I should have just Pyro Balled instead. But I don't mind getting a KO on Oranguru. I mean, the reason we're even in this game is because Trick Room didn't go up yet. And that's really, really critical. The problem is a Calyrex Ice snowballing too quickly. I just wasn't sure if Inity was going to survive the Hailstorm plus the hail damage anyway, so I was like, why not just at least get an attack boost onto the Cinderace? Because both of our Dynamaxes will end simultaneously. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that is very interesting. You actually don't end up picking up the KO there as a result. Do I survive after hail? Yeah, I think their Max Knuckle gets punished here in the end. That's kind of greedy. So they don't actually pick up a KO there. And the thing is, now I actually get Follow Me. I'm really shocked they just switched out turn 1. They have Landorus in the back, but this is where White Herb is clutch. Okay, so with that, I honestly think I want to just go for... Wait. Why didn't our White Herb go off there? Huh? I have to say I'm slightly confused about that. Does it just not apply from Intimidate? Huh. Okay, well, that's a bummer. We have Urshifu in the back and Whimsicott. Urshifu's very good. See, the thing is, I'm going for a Helping Hand Pyro Ball now, but if I'm going for it now, why didn't I just go for it earlier? That would have been smarter, wouldn't it have been? Oh, and they Max Guard, wow. Okay, that's a really good Max Guard. They just hadn't been protecting this entire time, so I didn't think they'd go for it. Oh, but they fly. Yeah, that's totally fine. Because our Dynamaxes end now, and I have a defense boost on the Cinderace. Yeah, this is okay. I don't know that damage calc. Like, Calyrex Ice is just so bulky, I wouldn't count on it actually KOing. I think because we have Urshifu in the back, that wins us the game with Surging Strikes with Choice Band. In the end, I mean, like, yeah, they just didn't get Trick Room up, but this is what I mean. Even in the worst matchups, your opponent actually has to identify their right play. And to be honest, this actually wasn't like a free win, even if they got Trick Room up on turn 1 because of the taunt play that I made. So you have to find your outs and just play towards your outs. That's the main thing. Okay. It's better to Moonblast and Pyro Ball here. Or Helping Hand Pyro Ball. I lean towards Helping Hand Pyro Ball. We have a defense boost on the Cinderace, so we should survive a fly from that Landorus. Just a question of whether or not they go for a double protect. I don't know if that protect is an actual protect. No, it probably is. I think it is. Alright, they don't go for a double, and we connect Pyro Ball. I feel like this should KO, right? If not, that's a severe problem for us. Nice. Oh, it didn't? Okay, did they just Glacial Lance? Does that KO Cinderace? Oh, I can't believe that didn't KO. Wow. Oh, that feels so bad. But I could have won the game if I just targeted Landorus. I think the better play was probably the Helping Hand Steel Spike into Landorus the turn Landorus came out, because that picks up a KO, I get a defense boost. Yeah, I think I misplayed this game, this end game. Oh. Landorus could still misfly, though. Man. I thought we had it in the bag with the Helping Hand Power Ball into yeah, this thing literally has like 2 HP. Well, it was a good game, and I definitely made some misplays for sure. I got a Surging Strikes here, right? Actually, if you're my opponent, you just Earthquake. You don't need to even risk a fly. Yeah, it was definitely better to Helping Hand Steel Spike into Landorus, because my Cinderace at +2 defense can take the attacks from Calyrex, and then Cinderace just KOs the Clefairy as well. They do risk the fly, though, so they can lose off a miss here. In fact, if they miss, they just outright lose. We're also not sashed, which is sad, but they know that. I guess my other question is whether or not Fly one-shots Urshifu, but it's super effective. Urshifu's not bulky. I can't see us surviving. Plus, Clefairy probably has Helping Hand here, too. So, yeah, it was a mistake to not Steel Spike there. This is what I mean. You have to play correctly. And, you know, this was definitely a closer game than I thought it was going to be, given the matchup. But it is frustrating because it felt like I was actually in a really commanding position after turn 2. So, it was a good max guard on the Calyrex Ice. I didn't think it could take Helping Hand Power Ball. They don't Helping Hand with Clef, so I don't know. I mean, if they miss Fly, we can win. And sometimes in bad matchups, I mean, you need to play well, get a little bit of luck, all of the above. So let's see if they hit the Fly here and whether or not it one-shots us. Fly. It is going to connect. Okay, that should one-shot, right? Oh, that's why you don't give up, guys. Now we have Banded, Surging Strikes, and a Landorus. Wait, we outspeed, right? Yeah, we just attacked first with Surging Strikes. Whew! Oh, my heart. The reason why Earthquake's actually the correct play there is because you can just Earthquake and then follow me Fly instead. So my opponent also messed up their endgame a little bit here. Both of us did not play perfectly here, but in the end, I need them to play, like, make some more mistakes than I, because this matchup is not good for us. That being said, I mean, that max over Calyrex Ice was really, really smart. I'm just really shocked they switched out turn 1, to be honest, because, yeah. They what? Switched and just went for follow me? I feel like that just doesn't really accomplish very much. Like, the only thing that does is get Calyrex Ice in safely for a turn. But then even after then, what are you expecting to do afterwards? So, yeah. This is why, even if you think, like, the game is just absolutely over when you see your opponent's team, like, don't give up. Try to figure out answers against their best lead. And then, 1, you know, do your best. And 2, your opponent can also always make, like, not the perfect play that you're expecting to see from them. And that can give you big windows of opportunity to win the match, for example. So, yeah. But it's been a fast set of games, so let's play a 4th one here today. All right, 4th match here, and some really interesting stuff. Registeel Palkia. I've got their Onaleki, Urshifu, and Umbreon. So, the scary stuff is with 2 potential Dark types, Calyrex is not great. That being said, I think Max Aleki is still very, very good here. Kind of lean towards just Whimsicott Aleki. Do I really need Whimsicott, though? I mean, we can trade Tailwinds. I feel like that's worth it for us. Because our team is just generally faster, and then my Aleki can actually max Airstream as well. It's just a question of what I want on the back, because with the dual dark types, I think like Urshifu definitely needs to come out here. Well, I don't know if the Urshifu's dark, I guess, but we should assume it is until we see otherwise. And then how could I not? That was the thing with that last game. I didn't bring out that Calyrex. Would Calyrex have won that late game for us? Oh, it absolutely would have. Right. Because with Calyrex, we would have just come in and just click Astral Barrage, and that should just KO everything with Choice Specs, and they can definitely survive a Fly. So, I was so caught up in the tough matchup in that last game, I didn't even think about how Calyrex Shadow Rider was the right brain there. I really, I don't know. Cinderace isn't terrible here, but there's a Palkia on the opposing side, and we're not Assault Vest, so Palkia's going to give us some trouble. Okay. What's our goal here? I got distracted for a second. I think that my upstairs neighbor is tuning a guitar. I heard like a light hum and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Alright, it's actually going to be Urshifu Umbreon. You know, I'm okay seeing this early, because if we can eliminate these in the early game, that's good. Actually, yeah, I feel like this is really solid for us. What do I want to do here? Umbreon's less likely to protect. So I'm thinking, hey, let's just like Moonblast into Umbreon, Dynamax this thing, and Max Lightning. My only fear is if a Wicked Blow actually crits, like, I mean, obviously it crits Aleki, whether or not that one-shots us. Because on the other hand, do I actually even need to respect Regieleki, or sorry, the Umbreon right now? What is it going to do, Snarl or Foul Play? I guess neither of those are actually that scary. Unless you Sucker Punched Aleki here. That'd be really interesting. But actually, yeah, I think I like just Moonblast and Urshifu, Dynamax, and Max Lightning into it. Because if Urshifu protects, then I break your potential Focus Sash on turn 1 here anyway. It's just tempting because, like, in this position, it feels very likely Urshifu protects. So it's like, oh, I could double up onto Umbreon if Urshifu protects. That feels like a game-winning play on turn 1. But, like, what if it's Choice Band Urshifu, right? And they don't protect and they just Wicked Blow into a Lecky? That feels so bad. So let's see. Okay, and they don't protect Urshifu. Nice. Good, good, good. That's a huge threat to get out of the way. And it's not Focus Sash, so I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we were Choice Banded here. Yeah, that's really why I wanted to cover that option. Because, like, the worst case is just that Umbreon doesn't actually exert any offensive pressure right now for my opponent. So it's like, well, what do I even really care about it, right? Alright, so that's good. Huge Moonblast, too. I expect Snarl. Oh, okay, they do go for Foul Play, so they actually might know it's Physical Lecky. So that's the thing, right? Imagine if I split my damage there. Well, actually, I don't think Umbreon's ever surviving a double. And they bring out Whimsicott. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. It's not really what you want to bring out, I feel like, in a situation like this. And honestly, I think we actually just Moonblast into Whimsicott and max Airstream. Because if you set up Tailwind, I just set up Tailwind the next turn. Yeah. Like, this is fine. Now, I could have targeted the Umbreon, but I'd rather get rid of Whimsicott because I actually am not that worried about Umbreon, and we already took that Foul Play with over 50%, so I think we should survive another one. I didn't even talk about this earlier, but I should, like, one reason to think, hey, maybe Urshifu's also not Focus Sashed is because there's a Whimsicott on that team comp as well. So we get a speed boost onto both of these, and this means, like, Palkia should be their last one, right? So they bring out Palkia, and I can just Tailwind Max Lightning into it. Although I suppose maybe Palkia protects here. It's actually probably better to Tailwind Max Lightning into the Umbreon slot. Ooh, they go for Snarl. Okay, so Regieleki actually does not faint here, which is very nice. I think the best play is still to just Max Lightning, KO that Umbreon. But Palkia could get a special defense boost off. I also haven't Tailwinded yet. I guess I didn't even talk about that. I'm just nervous about a Foul Play actually KOing a Lecky here, because I could obviously Helping Hand Max Lightning into Palkia. But Umbreons rarely carry Protect in these situations. Also, does Palkia outspeed us at +1 speed? We hit what, like, oh, we're not max speed, that's interesting. 253. I'm just wondering if I actually need to even Tailwind here, but I do think the correct play here is to Tailwind and Max Lightning into Umbreon. I think that they probably don't protect with Palkia here, so I could win the game outright with a Helping Hand Lightning into Palkia, but it doesn't matter because if I KO... The only downside here is if Umbreon actually has Protect. You normally run, what, Snarl, Moonlight, Yawn, Foul Play. This could be a little bit greedy if Umbreon actually has Protect, but like in terms of probability-wise, it's like more likely I feel like Palkia protects relative to Umbreon here. I just want to Tailwind here to ensure I outspeed in the subsequent turns with what I have in the back. Yeah, okay, they don't protect Umbreon. Perfect. Nice. Alright, that's a KO. I think the tricky thing here is, like, they just brought stuff that's way too passive in the early game, right? Ooh, Max Hailstorm. That's pretty cool. Surprised to see that. I'm curious then if they don't have Max Quake, because I feel like if you Quake here, things could have been a lot scarier. But I'll definitely take that turn. Because at this point, we just have so much offense on our side, right? And they didn't get... I was worried about a special defense boost, but the reality is that Palkia needs 3 hits. Oh, it's also Life Orb. Interesting. Yeah, the reality is that, like, even with the special defense boost, you're only picking up 1 KO a turn, which means I get, what? 2 attacks off, you pick up 1 KO. And then I get another 2 attacks off, you pick up a KO. And then a 5th attack off. That's 5 attacks in 3 turns, basically. Who's better to bring out in a position like this? I actually don't know what does more between the Bandit Close Combat and then the Specs Single Target Astral Barrage. Attacks 200, 217, 120 single target. Both are 120. I think Palkia's defense is better, or special defense is better, but I actually don't remember off the top of my head. It doesn't really make much of a difference in this scenario either way, but I was just thinking... it's always good to think these things through. It's better to... Well, I don't want to say overthink, but it's always good to just consider every single thing that might happen, right? Okay. So we can just Moonblast here into Palkia, go for an Astral Barrage. I think that should be... Yeah, I mean, there's no way my opponent can come back at this point. We just had too much of an early lead. And that's the thing with this team. This team, what it does really well is punish leads that don't match up well against it, right? So passive leads, for example, is a really good example. I don't know why I said example twice there. It's getting late. But passive leads are a good example, right? I think in this game, for example, my opponent led... Well, Urshifu's not exactly super passive, but it's also not exactly super scary when I have 2 Pokemon outspeed it. Man, that Astral Barrage does so much damage. They go for a Geyser here. So given that they have Hailstorm, it's probably Geyser, Warm Wind, Protect. Wow, that doesn't even one-shot. I'm actually kind of surprised about that, to be honest. Especially from a Life Orb max move? I'm wondering if it's not, like, fully EV'd, because I fully would have expected that to get a one-hit KO. Maybe my calcs are just kind of off, but I don't know. It feels reasonable to think it would KO there. Anyway, my point is, if you lead passively against this team, it can snowball very quickly, right? Something like Umbreon, for example, didn't actually put on that much pressure. It was a really good foul play, though, into Regieleki turn 1, because that, like, made things a little bit dicier. Without foul play turn 1, Aleki is free to just, like, keep ignoring the Umbreon and basically target around it. And this Aleki is actually such a potent threat, right? So you basically can't leave it unchecked, which is the main thing about it. So, yeah. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's episode, so thank you so much as always for watching Road to Ranked. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. Huge thank you to the original creator once again for coming up with this incredible Regieleki set and just team in general. I really love playing Hyper Offense personally, so it's been an absolute treat to use something as like this, especially in Series 8. We saw a lot of Hyper Offense teams in the last couple of series, but Series 8 Hyper Offense definitely feels a little bit different, but so fun to bring a team that just Dynamaxes Regieleki so frequently, and glad to feature really what physical Regieleki can do. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Check out the creator in the description below, rental in the description below as well. Don't forget to answer that question of the day, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed. I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.